Ooh-wee, that's expert. She just said CSP. She just
that's what they put.
Who cuts it down to the acronyms? Oh my gosh. Okay.
Right. And I wouldn't do the
She was speaking rich, I was speaking broke. She said CSP. Get the CSP.
Like, no, do that one, not the reserve.
Hey lovelies, welcome to Flirting with Travel. I'm Lexi.
And I am Misty.
And today we are talking about travel hacking, the credit cards you need, how to use points, and how to spend responsibly.
I think the worst part of flying is literally the airport time, right? Because if you fly from like Vegas to LA, it's a 4-hour flight. It's only a 45-minute flight, but it's a 4-hour drive.
I'm going to be real with you. I think taxis and Ubers are the worst part of travel. Like,
really?
Just getting to and from the airport. The actual airport experience itself is, I mean, it's cruddy, but you know what it's going to be. However, you never know what your drive is going to be like, particularly when you show up somewhere new.
Okay, I can see that, but I feel like I actually never thought of that. It's never the hard part to me. That's the easy part. The Uber part, I think the difficulty with Uber is you just don't know where ride shares are picking up.
Yeah.
In the airport. So I guess that would be the most stressful portion of that.
I mean, this has nothing to do with airports, but do you remember when we met up in Amsterdam? Our hotel was very far from the airport. And instead of getting a taxi and just taking it over, I thought,
Queen of public transportation. Like,
yes.
She absolutely adores doing public transportation.
Well, they said that it was only going to be like, I think I maybe spent $5 to get from the airport there, but I also took 3 hours.
To get there?
Yes, I had to do trains, buses, walking. By the time I showed up, I felt so run down with my backpack on. And you know, you travel with a backpack because you're like, I'm going to be able to navigate anywhere with this.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, I did. And I pushed myself to my limits. So by the end of it, I was over it. And then I thought, I'm for sure taking a taxi back to the airport. I didn't, though. I still took public transportation.
Was it 3 hours, though?
No,
You had switched hotels.
I had switched hotels, so I was way closer to Central, but I'd also like figured out the public transportation, so I was a lot more smooth with my navigation.
I took a taxi there, so.
Yeah, she showed up so refreshed, like, oh, I just hopped off a 7-hour flight, and I'm here. Are you ready to go do stuff? And I was like,
the transport, I mean, Schiphol has a really great train system out of the airport, but I'm just not going through all of that initially.
Okay, so airports.
Back to the airports hacks. Okay, so flying here, I flew Delta. So I flew Delta because this was my last flight to get silver status for 2023.
Mind you, I put her on my benefits. She could be non-revving for super cheap, but go ahead.
I'm going to non-rev now, but you know, it's really bad to get to the end of the year and then not actually obtain the status. Like, that's one of the loyalties to an airline. You want to make sure that in your calendar year, you are flying them enough to obtain or retain the status that you accrued, because that's one of the major reasons of loyalty to an airline. If not, then what is the purpose? So I wanted to at least get to silver. There's silver, gold, and platinum on Delta. And I'm in Atlanta, so you might as well be flying Delta because they go in and out. And I just wanted to get there. I recently learned because they have medallion qualifying miles. You have to get 2 out of 3 in order to get your status. Okay. So you have the miles, you have the spend, and then you have segments, right? And then if you can't meet one of those, if you have their co-branded credit card, you can spend like $25,000 and that'll supersede and you can just get the status, right?
So you have a Delta card though?
I do. Okay. I emailed American Express like, hey, my little thing is not moving. And I'm using the card because I use the card when I book the flights because you get 2 times the miles. They were just like, well, we don't know. Maybe you need to email Delta. So then I get on iMessage. I message Delta and I'm like, hey, I'm having an issue. And they're like, oh, we don't know. You need to, call American Express. I'm like, okay, you guys are giving me the runaround.
What bank backs Delta's card?
American Express.
Okay. And Amex is actually its own bank?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and then they're on the card. So I was reading this go around because I was starting to get really frustrated that my little line wasn't moving to find out that my gold card, my Delta gold card, does not qualify for the spend. So
what's the point then?
I don't know. I think what happened was I had the Delta Platinum and I wanted to downgrade the annual fee. I don't remember how much the annual fee was. Maybe the annual fee was maybe like $200 or $250.
Okay.
And I'm just like, I don't need that. So I downgraded it to gold. And now I don't get the benefit. So
yeah,
I don't think I can upgrade because I feel like what American Express does is they have you requalify. So meaning that like I don't want to go through and apply like I'm applying for a new credit card.
Yeah, when you already had the credit card.
Exactly. So I don't want the inquiry on my credit report. I don't want to go through that because so anyway, I don't get the Delta spin. But this was my last segment to get to silver. So now I'm silver.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand this. So my understanding, because we have a co-branded credit card it's Visa backed by Bank of America. Now, pardon me, anytime you spend on like any $1 spent is 1 point.
Right.
Then when you book airfare, I think it's like 2 points.
Right.
And okay, so with your gold Delta card, any dollars that you spend just on the card, does it accrue
1 point?
1 point. Okay.
So every dollar equals 1 mile. If you book on the Delta app, not through Expedia, not through a third-party booking site, but through the Delta app, whether that's mobile or website, you get 2 times the points for travel.
Okay.
And then that dollar counts towards it because you have to have the spend plus the miles. So I had to accrue 25,000 miles. I had to fly 25,000 miles in this calendar year on Delta, plus spend $3,000 to get to silver.
So it's not like you could just spend a ton of money, not travel, and still hit your goal.
If you had the credit card that they allow it to, then yes.
Okay, so if you have platinum, you could just spend a ton of money, not travel, and next year you're like, oh, okay.
Yes, $25,000 or $30,000, yes. You have to spend $25,000 or $30,000 on the card, which is actually, I mean, I don't know people's spending habits, but for the most part, if that's your primary card that you're using.
Well, I think you had talked about like there's a way that you spend where basically all of your regular expenses are on your card.
Yes.
Like it's not like, oh, I'm shopping at Amazon for $30,000. You're using it to pay off like
everything,
your car notes and things like that, or can you?
So you can, depending on the bank, but the tip for that is if you're trying to put everything on one credit card because you want to accrue all the points, I would set up it's called Plastique. We'll drop it below in the description box, but you set up a Plastique account and then they will run all of those things through to use your credit card for payment. You do have to pay, I think, a 1.5% fee for that, but
you accrue points and it helps you get status, which just makes sense.
Yes.
There's something about it that like we have talked about cards so much and somehow every time you open your mouth and start speaking about it, I just hear white noise. Like
she won't get it. She shops on Amazon. She is an Amazon shopper. I don't understand why she does not have the Amazon co-branded credit card. You could get the credit card with the Visa back or you could get just the store card. But either way, you get 3 times the points and you then get to use those points for free stuff.
I know, but then you're really buying into that infrastructure.
I mean, you have an Amazon box every other day.
I do. I have slowed down my shopping substantially, but there's just something about the credit cards that always feels like moderately predatory. And I know it's not. Literally, if you get into it, you can like save yourself a ton of money. But in my mind, it just feels scammy.
I kind of feel like, one, you need to be responsible. So don't do this if you're not a fiscally responsible person, or you financially can't afford the spend. So if you naturally spend $1,000 and you have $1,000 to pay back, then you put it on the credit card. But if you're spending $2,000 and you have $1,000, then that doesn't make sense because now it's costing you way more money. But that actually got all the way from the airports. Like,
I mean, it's useful to know. So there's tons of hacks with your credit cards, but ultimately, it all started with Delta. I'm trying to figure out how do you get the most out of your Delta credit card? So with the gold credit card that you have, how do you get the most out of it?
So I'm very cognizant to use it to book all my Delta flights.
Okay, so if you fly a ton, but you don't spend a bunch of money, not for flying, if you don't just spend a bunch of money on other stuff, but you fly a ton, then the Delta Gold card is good.
You know, sometimes I feel like it's not good. I wasn't in love with it, but I've
Okay.
committed to making it work. So when I fly, if I'm flying Delta, I use the credit card, right?
Okay.
And I'm trying to allocate categories that go towards different things. So whenever I'm staying in a hotel, I use the Marriott. I have a Bonvoy card. So I specifically use my Marriott Bonvoy card to book my Marriott stays.
Okay.
Because every time you use that particular business's co-branded credit card, you are accruing more points, right?
Gotcha.
And it ends up in more free stays or free flights because all of the miles I accrue on Delta, I can use those for upgrades or booking flights, which is why it took me so long to get to silver this year because I had I booked flights with points and then I had e-credits and I missed probably like another 10,000 miles and money because I just used it that way, which was affordable. When I flew to Bonaire, I booked using 18,000 points for a round trip ticket to Miami from Atlanta.
Okay, so I guess my honest question then is, if I'm starting from scratch, and this is me, I'm starting from scratch if I decided to do this, should I just get like the Capital One, whatever their travel card is, or should I get an airline branded card?
Okay, so valuation of points is important. I wouldn't get the Capital One travel card. That to me doesn't have the best, highest points. Okay. If you're just going to go with points and not have a loyalty attached to it, I would do Chase Sapphire Preferred or the American Express Platinum. Now, I am a fan of this card. You guys know it. I talk about it very consistently. It has a $695 a year annual fee, but you need to maximize on the benefits that come for it to make it make sense. So if you're not going to do that for you, I would do, because you're going to fly non-rev, I would do the Allegiant card. I would get the Allegiant card because you're going to book flights through it anyway. And if you do, you can maybe get enough.
Oh, I mean, I fly for free. So that's my thing.
You pay taxes.
On Allegiant, I fly total free.
Oh.
You wouldn't either.
No, I did. When I flew from Oklahoma to Vegas.
That's because you were on a buddy pass. You're now on my benefits as my travel companion. You'd be flying free like I fly free, which is why
they don't fly out of Atlanta. I would get the Chase Sapphire Preferred. Okay. It's a $95 a year card. It has transferability to airlines, hotels. It's a really good card as an entry-level basic card.
Okay. So then let's say not me, someone who works for an airline. I'm just pretend I'm a different person. I'm a casual traveler. I travel once to twice a year. I'm not dedicated to any specific airline, but let's say if I was, maybe I'm flying Southwest.
I would get the Southwest card.
You go Southwest card over the Chase card?
If you have no loyalty, one of the cards I'd always have in my wallet is going to be the Chase Sapphire Preferred.
Okay.
Period. It's a really good card. They give you 3 times dining, I think 2 times travel, 1 time dollars point, and then you can take that, go into the Sapphire Preferred shopping portal, and then you are able to transfer those points over, typically for like a 1-for-1 point to another. For instance, I flew from Kuwait to Ghana. I had 48,000 points on my Chase Sapphire Preferred. I had accrued 48,000 points, so I was spending a lot of money. I took those, I transferred them to Emirates at a 1-for-1. So my 48,000 points went to 48,000 miles on Emirates airline. I took those and I used those to upgrade my ticket to a first class ticket.
Okay, that makes sense.
So essentially the $6,000 first class ticket, I was able to get for the business class price of $2,500.
Gotcha.
So I'm not even going to lie and be like, oh, I was able to go from an economy $800 seat to like a first class private cabin with all of this. No, I did buy a business class seat that was $2,600 round trip. And I was able to upgrade to first class with those points.
I appreciate your candor because I feel like I do follow some people that are like, oh, I bought my ticket for like $12 and look at me, I'm in business class because of all my points. And I was like, no, you didn't. You liar. Sorry, it
Well,
bothers me so much.
I mean, because when I look at it too, I'm like, well, how did they do that? And I'm not going to say that I think like you have to be so mindful in point hacking to get there. We flew to Ireland from LA on my British Avios points, British Airways Avios points. And that was, I think we had
$114 each.
Yeah, $114 each because you had to pay the taxes. And I only used, it was crazy. I think it was like 32,000 Avios points, which is nuts. It was a really good deal.
Okay. So you're saying starter pack for someone who's getting into traveling. Start with the Chase Sapphire Preferred.
Chase Sapphire Preferred.
Then
not the Reserve.
Okay.
Not the $495 a year one. The $95 a year one. Do not go under either for the Chase Sapphire card, which is like free. It doesn't give you any of the benefits. Go for CSP, $95 a year. There is a link below in the description box that you guys can sign up.
Ooh, that's expert. She just said CSP. She just
that's what they put.
Who cuts it down to the acronyms? Oh my gosh. Okay.
Right. And I wouldn't do the
She was speaking rich, I was speaking broke. She said CSP. Get the CSP.
Like, no, do that one, not the Reserve. And then the other card that I would feel, my favorite cards right now are the Chase Sapphire Preferred. I love the Apple card. But I have an iPhone, so that makes sense for us.
Yes, it does make sense.
You get cash back for everything that you're spending, and it immediately goes to your account. So if you're going to do that, it gives you the cash back immediately. I think it's like
international transaction fees for Apple.
Ooh, good question.
Because that's the other thing. Check your card to make sure
Chase Sapphire does not have an international transaction fee as well, which is important.
Capital One doesn't either.
I don't think Apple charges, but
it's worth checking.
Never used it overseas.
Okay.
And then...
Okay, so then after that, if that was your first card, would your next card be an airline card, or would you say just hold until you can get to like Amex?
Very good question, Lexi. Very good question. It depends on how you travel.
Okay.
Are you a loyalty brand whore? I always say you need to be. So if you are staying at hotels, choose a hotel brand and stick with it. If it's going to be Marriott, I would get their co-branded card because they allow you to stack points faster. So I was able to book the Marriott Courtyard, which was the only Marriott on Bonaire. But I was able to use like 100,000 of my points on Marriott for the trip, and it cost like $50. So for a like 8-day stay, 100,000 points for $50. We essentially, this is when they say, I stayed at the Courtyard Marriott in Bonaire, that's in the Caribbean, for 8 days for $50. Ask me how.
Oh, okay. So I got a question.
Yes.
So now let's say for me. So we say I start with the CSP. And then what would I do next? Since I'm non-rev or since I fly non-rev, do you think the next thing I should get is something like a card that's backed by Marriott or one of those groups?
You're an Airbnb person, though.
I am an Airbnb person.
And Airbnb actually doesn't have a credit card, do they?
Not yet.
However,
stop saying yet. I don't know
they're coming. Right. It's the hack. I know.
It probably is, though.
I personally would. For you, I wouldn't do any co-branded cards. I know this sounds crazy. I would do CSP and I would do like an American Express or an Apple card. Because to me, the Capital One cards, although they're great and they do have a cashback option, because I do have one of those, I feel that the Apple card is just sexier.
Okay.
So I would do the Apple card as opposed to the Capital One card.
Okay.
Very closely identical in like interest rates and features. But the Apple card just as an Apple user is better because then if you go and buy like a phone or a computer, you can get on their payment plan that links to the card with no.
Gotcha.
That's just great. Just like, an additional feature. So I would do the Apple card and then Amex Platinum. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why you don't get the green or gold. Okay. You go for this. I know it's $700 a year, but follow me. It's expensive.
Oh, you're going to have to lead me somewhere good because $700 a year. Okay.
You want to do that because you don't have a loyalty. You're flying non-rev. You're staying in Airbnbs. The Amex Platinum does not have an international transaction fee.
Okay.
There are certain countries that love it and there's certain countries that don't. But it has a really good transfer 1-for-1 as well for like, say you wanted to stay here. They also give you a $200 a year airline credit.
Okay.
So if you got on a non-rev and you don't check bags because she's team carry-on, but if you were ever to check a bag, buy food or whatever, you swipe the card, they'll give you that money back.
Up to $200 a year. That's pretty nice.
However, the thing about that I learned was you do need to, you identify which airline you're flying and it only applies to that particular airline. I thought that was like a
well, given that I'm not a loyalty person, that one's going to be harder to meet. Okay.
They give you this is one of my favorite features of the card. You get $20 a month, $240 a year entertainment credit.
Nice.
So I have Disney Plus, which is Disney, Hulu, ESPN. I get it charges $20. I get the $20 back. So essentially I have Disney Plus, Disney, Hulu, ESPN, not Hulu Live, but just Hulu. No commercials. For free.
Makes a difference. Yeah.
You get gold status automatically because you have this card with Marriott, Hilton, Enterprise, Avis, and
I'm going to be a total novice. What does gold status give you with those?
Gold status gives you late checkout.
Okay.
Upgraded rooms.
Oh, okay.
Better views. It gives you a complimentary like drink depending on the hotel, right? So if you book a suite and if they have it available, they'll upgrade you. The checkout now is crazy. Like checkout is at 10 o'clock in the morning now. So to have a 12 o'clock checkout, but no, it's like 2 o'clock. It used to give you like a 4 o'clock checkout, but
my gosh.
Yeah, now it's 2. Those things for cars, it upgrades you to a larger size car. You get to walk straight through. You don't have to go to the desk.
Okay.
You just go to the car, pick up your keys and you go. Like the locations that have that, larger cars and then just better coverage. The credit card also comes with, which so does maybe Chase. It comes with rental car coverage.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yes.
Okay. Travel insurance?
It has travel insurance as well. So, but the travel insurance only works if you book the ticket on that card.
Okay.
The rental car only works if you book the rental car on that card.
That makes sense.
But it's great. And it also has like a medical insurance, a travel medical insurance as well.
Nice. Okay. If you put all that together, wait, don't they give you like your clear?
Oh, you get clear.
They
give you the clear money back. So that's $179. So clear is free. You get global entry, $100 credit every 5 years. So global entry is free.
Nice.
And you get TSA. Well, TSA pre-check comes with global entry.
Okay.
But so that's, I think it's totally worth it. Plus one of the other really, really good things is it comes with American Sensorium Lounge access.
Nice.
And you can bring in a guest because remember I brought you in free.
And I will say the idea of being able to go in and get food and like some drinks, not alcoholic beverage. Is it alcoholic beverage?
I think you have to pay for the alcoholic beverage. Maybe wine is free. No, wine is free. I don't know. I was at the British Airways, super caveat. I was at the British Airways lounge in London, flying through. All the alcohol was free. They had a wine bar, they had a champagne bar, and then they had like top shelf liquor that was there.
Okay. So if you think about how much money you'd save at the airport, not buying $9 bottles of water and like $15 bags of Chex Mix.
Yes. It's worth it because I go in there and I grab a quick bite. Not the best. Sometimes it's really good food. The Centurion Lounge is good food. The British Airways Lounge is good food. If you go and you get free priority pass, which means you have access to like 4,000 lounges globally. Okay. And pretty much every lounge is on priority pass.
So if you manage to use every feature that you just said, that is definitely $700 value.
Exactly. Plus. It pays for itself. You just have to be committed to the ecosystem.
Yeah, but if you're not going to use all of those, then
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
But for you travel, priority pass, Centurion Lounge, because they have showers and things if you ever were to get stuck. And it just works for itself. It just pays for itself.
So that is the card. I'm not saying that's the card for me, but that's the card for someone like me who does not have loyalty to a specific airline. Yes. But it still allows you to like look for deals.
Right. Chase Sapphire Preferred, Apple Card, and the American Express Platinum. Links are all below, so you can go apply for them. Definitely game changers in like your travel and everyday life.
So before you get a card, though, you have to know who you are as a traveler. So you're a loyalty person. So yeah, you have a Delta card. You're like, I fly Delta. I'm a deals person. I will look for the cheapest thing I can find. So that case, I just need something that gives me tons of cash back.
Right. So Apple Card is good. Okay. The Capital One card is good, but I like the Apple Card just because we're Apple people. Yeah. And like if you're using booking.com enough, the Genius discount, you're going to get that. And then if you are using Expedia, you get cash back on Expedia with your loyalty. So like when we stayed at the Marker in Ireland, the room was like $450 a night. We got the room for like $250 a night, but I realized that was because I had so much cash in the cash, that I was able to get the discounted rate.
Gotcha. Okay. So if I do nothing else, yes. I need to just get one credit card that gives me a ton of cash back. And if you are someone who is traveling dedicatedly on one airline, so now let's say someone's a baby you. They travel on one airline. Maybe they're not traveling as extensively as you travel. Do they go the CSP at Amex?
CSP.
Okay.
If you are not flying a lot, sometimes the co-branded cards don't make the most sense because you're getting them for the travel points, right? You're getting them, and a lot of the cards, they're not going to give you the lounge access unless you have the top tier card with the higher annual fee.
Okay, so levels to this, you start with Apple for cash back, then get into CSP, then get into Amex, and finally, once you've like beaten all the minor bosses, final boss is you get your airline card, and that's when you become loyal. Okay.
Because they'll all give you like gold to something, and then maybe you get an I was travel hacking, so I was travel churning and travel hacking, trying to accrue all these points for free travel when I first got into it. So I went out and got like 15 credit cards.
My God.
It was like,
that can't be responsible.
I mean, I was like, yeah. And then it's like you have to meet these minimum spends. The other thing is that like every time you get one of these cards, you have to meet the spend.
Yes.
So if it's like you have to spend $3,000 in 90 days, don't be out there over like stressing yourself to spend $3,000 in 90 days if you don't have $3,000 to pay back.
Right?
It doesn't make sense. But if you have a trip coming up and it's like, Chase Sapphire is going to give you 75,000 points if you spend $4,000. So you book your flight, your hotel, and your rental car and all of your trips on this card. Then that makes sense because you were about to spend it anyway.
Okay, that makes sense. So I feel like I can't even get a card until I'm ready to go somewhere because like my life at home is so cheap. I don't do anything when I'm at home.
Right.
But when I'm ready to go somewhere and you're about to spend $2,000 on an Airbnb, you basically already run the race. Okay.
So, and then because you know you're going to spend that money, so you want it back. Christmas, holidays, anytime you know. But let's also talk about, we're talking about trips and point hacking and credit cards. And we also need to, the most important part, the responsible part is talking about your credit. Yeah. Do not do this if you do not have good credit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Or if you don't have good spending habits. It's like, don't buy cake if you know you don't, like if you're trying to be on a diet and you're trying to eat responsibly, don't bring junk food into your home.
Yeah.
Don't bring a bunch of credit cards into your wallet if you don't have the ability to pay it off.
Right. So do this but you also have to have decent credit to do this.
Yeah.
Every single one of these cards I've mentioned, you have to have a 650 credit score or above. Your debt to income should be under 30%. Debt meaning I have a $30,000 credit line. I'm only using max 10%, so $10,000 of that because that's 30%. And what is that?
You said you're using 10,000?
So you have $30,000. Yeah.
Well, that's about 30%.
Yeah, it is about 30. Yeah. So $10,000. And then your income is like, if you have 30,000 in credit, you're using 30% of your credit, your income needs to be like $50,000 or $60,000. Now you can do this cheaper, but I always advise you to not go out there and over leverage yourself trying to get free travel. Unless you're that meme. It's just like, everybody always wants to know how I'm out here moving. And they're just like, where did you get all this money? I don't have it. I'm literally living $10 at a day. Like that's, don't be that person. But I would recommend it, but you need good credit to do this. And then the other thing is you can't go out here and get these credit cards and close the credit cards because you will impact your credit. So every time you apply, you're going to get like a hard inquiry pretty much. And that's going to report to the credit unions. A lot of these use Experian or TransUnion. And then that is going to take you down like 10, 15 points. And it's going to take some time to, it'll recalibrate. It'll come back. But if you close it, you can drop like 50 points. Also, do not go and travel churn if you know you have a major purchase, i.e. a house. Do not do this if you're purchasing a house, whether you're getting ready to purchase a house or you're in the process of purchasing a house. Do not apply for a credit card in the process of purchasing a house.
Yeah. So there's ways you have to set up your life before you do this.
Yes.
I think for me, that's why we talked about, I think home ownership is just so fake. It's fake. But that's why, like, I feel like now I'm at the point where I need to set up my life to have these credit cards because I know that that's not what my end goal is.
Yeah. I mean, I just think I use it as like I took a trip this year and I was traveling for a month, and out of that month, half of the expense was burdened with my points. I used points to book most of the flights. I used points to book most of the hotels. I used everything. And then for the cash back, I just like to accrue the cash back and then apply it to my card.
Okay.
But that's just how I am. Sometimes I do wish I hadn't really gotten into it just because.
You think?
The simplicity of cash is king and you don't have to worry about debt is always nice.
It is. But, well, I think you actually make the most of it. Like, don't take any of this advice and then run out, get these credit cards and then not travel. And then, or also not take the steps to like get your cash back and use that.
Yeah.
The only reason you would get these is if you say, I'm about to set up my life to use them.
Yes.
Like you can't travel hack halfway.
And I've been trying to get her to get a credit. I've been trying to get you a credit card forever. Like you just will not.
I won't because, well, we just talked about it. We talked about the responsibility. Let me tell you, someone who has Amazon deliveries every other day shouldn't have an Amazon credit card.
But you have that. It might be 30% free.
I guess
because you do Amazon Fresh. You do Whole Foods.
I do Amazon Fresh.
You do Amazon delivery.
I mean, we all know Jeff Bezos is the devil. We shouldn't be buying into him.
Oh, also, I think if you use your Chase Sapphire Preferred on Instacart or Grubhub, like their elite membership, whatever that is called, I don't know. It's free.
I haven't bought into the infrastructure of like food deliveries. I do Amazon Fresh for grocery delivery, but like I'm not a big Grubhub fan. I'll put on shoes and go out and get my own food.
She really will. I won't.
I don't get it. Like midwinter, if I decide I need something, I'm either going to get it or I'm living without it. There's something about like, I just don't like food delivery services, especially once you heard those stories of people like reaching their hands in and eating half your fries before they get to you.
I can kind of see that, but I also am like, there will be days upon days I don't leave my house. I live in my home. So like I can go 3 days without ever leaving and it not be a problem. I'm not held prisoner. I love my house. So
I mean, that's where Amazon Fresh comes in. I'm a big fan of that.
I haven't gotten into it, but maybe I'll try. I'm an Instacart girl. I Instacart a lot.
Okay. Well, I guess we all have our things.
Yeah.
Nice. Look, that didn't go where we thought it was going to go, but we got to a destination, and that was go ahead and travel hack, but do it responsibly.
Yes.
Don't spend money you don't have.
Exactly.
If you take nothing from this, don't spend money you don't have. That is not our advice. But if you have the money, hack.
Yes, you can travel affordably. Long term, it plays off. You have to put a year into it. It's commitment. But yeah, so links below for all the credit cards that were mentioned and Plastique where you can actually pay regular bills through your credit cards.
And if you have a favorite card that we didn't mention, please feel free to mention it. Like,
yes, I'm always looking for different cards. Give me your
let us know.
reviews. And that's all we got for y'all. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Until next time.
Peace.
That's all for this week. Link up with us on Instagram at Flirting with Travel, or check out flirtingwithtravel.com for itineraries and more travel hacks. Taking off. Love you.